I never thought I would like actually have a job where like people give a shit about what I have to say.
So how long ago was the Kickstarter?
We launched it in May of last year.
Okay.
So we're coming up on a year working on it.
And you're still enthusiastic, which is a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, totally. Like I think that this is one of the most exciting times of the project where we're starting to like see the design come together. Like before it was just a bunch of systems. Now it's a video game. And that's awesome. Like you can start from the beginning and you can play it a little bit, and there's a lot of placeholder everything in there, but you can actually play it. It's actually a game. People are starting to have experiences that are cool. I think is really promising. It's still one of the weirdest things about working on games, I think, is that most of them are just bad up until like a couple months before they ship, sometimes a couple weeks or a couple days before they ship. Like, yeah, jury's still out. Like, we'll see, I don't know, like, we'll see. But I'm confident that it will be a thing. It will be a video game, and it'll have all the elements that I really wanted to have in there. They'll all be present in some form when we ship it. So like, I think we're doing a good job of like making good on the promise of this fantasy game with the timeline and the bloodlines, and also like trying to issue like standard, not issue, starts with an E,
yeah.
That word? Yeah. We're trying to avoid all of the standard like fantasy tropes. I get really tired of like orcs and elves and dragons and fireballs and all this stuff, and so I think we're making good on that too.
This is hilarious because we don't even know if we're live right now.
Not even.
Assuming we are live. Welcome.
Do you want to talk about the open development of this game? I mean, it's one of the most transparent games ever made at this point, right, in the entire industry.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, one of the things we did during the Kickstarter is that, and this kind of came from the Broken Age documentary, is that it was a closed thing. It was just for people who backed the game. They had special forum access, and they were allowed to like watch these episodes. And the episodes are amazing. Like 2-player productions, they're like totally killing it, but it's like, it just feels like this very exclusive kind of thing. And so that was one of the lessons we learned, like what if we can actually like do it more publicly and just try to bring more people into it and get them excited about the game as we're developing it. So yeah, we do this thing, we call it the team stream, we do it every 2 weeks, and we just like show the state of the game, whatever state the game is in. And it's been really weird because like, there was no game for a while, and we're sort of showing people the pieces, starting with like concept art and design docs and production plans, and we're trying to show like every aspect of game development. Especially early on, we were trying to talk about like different disciplines and what their role is in the game at that point, and then having them also like explain some of the more like nitty-gritty details of like, what does a materials artist do? I think it's awesome. Like the educational part of it for me is really cool. I feel like so much of AAA media plans and behind the scenes stuff that they do is really just a bunch of bullshit. I hope I'm not pissing anybody off as I say that. Maybe I am, but I do think that it's like kind of bullshit. Like, it's a lot of times they're showing concept art that feels like it was made like after the game was finished, and it's super polished, and you're just like, that's not production concept. What? And it looks exactly like what shipped. I call bullshit on that stuff. Like it's really, and they, the interviews with the developers and stuff, like they're interviewing them after the fact. They're interviewing them after their game is fun. They're like, hey, what was it like to make this game? Well, there's no better way to talk about like how hard it was to make the game than when you didn't know if it was going to be fun at all. Oh, and then I think the other thing about those like behind the scenes things is that they're just all kind of fake. They're not showing you what the game used to look like. They're not showing you the game when it was terrible, because it was a video game and all games are terrible at one point. They're not showing you that. So I think it can be very discouraging for somebody who wants to break into the industry. They can be, looking at this stuff and thinking like, oh my God, how do they do that? I could never do that. And I think it really creates a more like hostile atmosphere for somebody who wants to get into it. So with this, it's like, we're showing people how bad it is all the time. And then if the game is any good at all, I'm hoping that it will be this thing where people can look at it and be like, oh man, they showed us how they did it, and they showed us how bad it was, and look how cool the end result was. Like, that's amazing. I can make something that's terrible, and if you keep working on something that's terrible, eventually it can become good. You know, it's like that's not rocket science, but I feel like it was like a closely guarded secret up until just like a couple years ago in the industry, and I feel like it kept people from trying. And I think that's one of the most dangerous things. You want people trying all the time. You know, you want people to like think that they can actually do it, because they can. If anybody like watches it and they're like inspired by it, then it's totally worth it. Like, it's totally worth it. It's a lot cooler if people are just honest and open about like what they're doing. Like, I don't know. It's certainly not hurting us, I don't think. Until all these kids like realize that making video games is pretty easy, and then it's not easy. It's not. But like if they realize they can do it, and then they come, and then I don't have a job in 10 years. That would be sad. That would be really sad. It is cool though, like having it be open when we cut one of our own ideas for an idea that came from the community. Like, I think it just makes the game stronger, because that's an idea that is really good that we probably wouldn't have come up with if left to our own devices. So I think the game is just better because like we're being open about it. It's cool. I mean, we're looking at like end of the year. We're gonna release it to backers first, and then collect some feedback from backers, and then get it out to everybody. Yeah, you can totally follow it, like, you know, on our forums, and so our Twitch channel's pretty good, and Twitter. But yeah, come to the forums, make an account with us on the forums. It'll be cool. We'll hang out, talk about the game. Hang out. Yeah, we'll hang out on the forums. I hang out on the forums. I like it.